Hey, this is Lance and Missy with Autism Playbook.
Hi.
And as promised, it's Thursday. And so here's a new post. Just want to give you kind of an update of things to come. So today we want you to get to know kind of our family, our journey a little bit better. Next week, we're going to be going to an RPM conference.
Rapid prompt movement. It's the SOMA method.
Yeah, it's really cool. We're hoping to get some cool things from that for Finn. And then we're gonna have some things coming up about scholarships. Most states or many states have a special needs scholarship for private school, which can be a good option for you. Maybe do some book reviews, that kind of thing. So look for those to come. But you want to kind of dive into our journey?
Sure. To start, just our backgrounds. I was a teacher before having kids. I taught elementary school, and now I stay home with our four.
Yeah, and as I've kind of written about before, I'm in corporate tax. So
Great. We have four kids. We have a 9-year-old daughter. We have Finn, who's almost 7 and has autism. We have a 4-year-old little boy and a 1-year-old baby boy. So that's our family.
yeah,
All right, let's talk about the diagnosis. Do you want to tell him?
tell a quick story there.
Yeah.
So when Finn was about 2.5, we took a trip to see some family. Everything seemed fine. I guess you'd had a conversation with the doctor around that time because you thought his speech was a little delayed.
Yeah.
And the doctor, we love pediatricians. They're awesome. Right. You need one. They don't want to give you the news that your child might have autism, especially at that age. So,
but listen to your gut. I think even though they spend just a few minutes with your child, you spend every day with your child, and if you feel like there's something wrong, I haven't known any doctor that would say, no, we won't test,
Yeah. So anyway, I get over the next year, he kind of regressed. We didn't necessarily see it because we saw him every day, but we saw the same family a year later, and they had noticed it, and other people in his life had kind of noticed. And so that's when we got him tested, and he was diagnosed with autism that fall. That was December of 2014 ultimately, yes. Yeah. And then
so right before he turned 4.
Right before he turned. And then in January 15 he started ABA. So he's been doing ABA about 3 years, and we've seen some really great things from that.
We have. ABA is good. When we got our diagnosis, there wasn't a clear path in our area. I think in some places it's a little better. When you get a diagnosis, you do this and this and this. But here, people weren't necessarily doing ABA at the time. So we were really fortunate to have the timing all work out. And I talked to a really great program director, and she really put us on a good path. So Finn's been doing ABA for about 3 years.
Yeah, and when you get the diagnosis, we've kind of written about this as well. It's a very hard thing to hear. It's very kind of breathtaking to take a step back, time in your life, yeah. and does. And so we're here for you. We want you to know that you have a community here. If you want a mom's perspective, dad's perspective, we're both here. Please reach out to us anytime. We always say that, but we'd love for you to. And also, a lot of places are going to be, or a lot of you are going to have a situation like us where you don't have that path. And that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create that playbook. Of course, we're not doctors. We don't play doctors on the internet. We're trying to help you understand our experiences and people that we would recommend you talk to, and suggestions that we have, and that sort of thing, for you to have that path. And so you don't have that helpless feeling, and that you have, a team behind you immediately.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about how autism affects our family's life. How do you think it affects our other children?
Well, yeah. So like Missy was saying, we got 4 kids. And so I think, at first we had kind of a brand new baby. Well, I guess he was about 1 when Finn was diagnosed. And
but we had him before we were very concerned.
Before we even knew. And and so I think a lot of attention was on the baby, but then he was about 1 when Finn was diagnosed. And I think almost all of our attention was on Finn at that point. And so I think it was hard for the other kids, and it'll continue to be. I think there are a lot of blessings that they have from having a special needs brother. And, they're very kind and compassionate with him and with
recognize
others,
that
and
different isn't bad, and
they recognize different isn't bad, and that sort of thing. And but then, so I think there was a couple years when kind of all focus was on Finn, and then we had another baby, and he's actually not been an easy baby. And so I think while we continued with ABA, which is what we feel is kind of the gold standard, we've kind of backed off on biomed, and we actually are very pro biomed as well, figuring.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that back when we were talking about treatment. We started biomed a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
We've been at it.
And so I'm not exactly sure why, but in some circles and communities, biomed is frowned on, but biomed is really just figuring out, are there underlying medical issues that are contributing to your child's autism? And if so, if those can be figured out and treated, that, certain things can improve. And we've definitely seen that with Finn.
Yes.
There's been some things that have certainly improved through
definitely
biomed.
We'll tackle those in future.
Yeah. And now that the baby's older, I think what we talked about the other day is that we want to, start using biomed.
I feel like biomed is a little more hands-on. Like you have to manage it a little.
Yeah.
Like
there's more work.
Yeah. So I think it's.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does autism affect our day-to-day as a family?
I think originally it was really hard. I think we were kind of embarrassed, and maybe
tricky.
Maybe you all have had those feelings as well. But I think now we figured out what Finn can handle and what he can't, and he's through ABA he can actually handle a lot more than he used to. And so I think we're very good at avoiding.
I think we're better at calling it, like being like, no, that's not a good place for him.
Yeah, and then I think we're good at
and
sorry, you were saying avoiding.
I also think
modifying.
Yes. Yeah, like sometimes you can go to something for a little bit, but you're not going to make it through the whole thing.
Yeah.
One person during a movie might need to be ready to go to the car, take a step out for a little bit.
And he has a strict diet, and so
does. The diet.
Yeah.
It plays a pretty big role.
In our culture, food is a big deal, and
it is.
And so sometimes we will bring berries with us for him to eat.
Often.
And, we've been in the same area long enough. We have really good friends that really know Finn and love him.
And I think that'll get better too if you're new to a diagnosis. Like your family, your friends, they'll learn to accept behaviors that are not typical.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
And I think one thing that helped, would you agree that we've been very good at calling it out and being very honest about his autism?
Yes.
We haven't hidden it.
No.
This is the situation.
Yeah.
This is what he needs. And
And I tell grocery store clerks, like when they talk to Finn and he's not responding in a typical way, I'll say, oh, he has autism. Like, I don't think I don't think it's bad to call it out. If you don't feel comfortable with that, that's fine. But one of the ways that it's
but especially with friends and accommodating him at parties and stuff like that, and schools and all that. The more honest you are, I think we found, the more willing people are to accommodate.
I think so for sure. So how do you think our life is different because of autism? I know, I guess we talked about that a little bit, but
I think it shapes a lot of things. But I think, and leading into your, maybe last question about advice too, is that autism doesn't have to rule your life. It can be a very difficult part, but just knowing that as you take responsibility, and as we've experienced, as we've taken responsibility, it's been hard, and it probably always will be, but there are options out there for it to be better. And as we kind of step up and say, hey, no one's going to care about this like we do. No one's going to care about him like we do.
I think there's some temptation to do that, to say, oh, they're the experts at school, like they know what to do, but you have to be a voice for your kids, like
and so in getting the ABA, getting the biomed, getting people in his life to coordinate appropriately with him.
For sure.
Again, these are all topics that we want to share with you.
Yes.
We want to work with you on. We want to hear your questions, but we want to, show you how to put together your team, how to pay for it, how to work with your team, all that, so that your child's life can be better.
Yeah, and you can have a good life too.
Exactly.